Good afternoon. This is the County Commission on Disability. Welcome, everyone. We have a roll call to establish quorum.
Linda Baker,
Here.
Amber Banner, no. Luke Barber, no. David Forrest, no. Gabriela Garbero, no. Stephen Harris,
Here.
Josh Lewis, Stephanie McDowell, no. Brandon Morris, here. Brandon, I know you were calling in. Can you hear us? Is Brandon here?
Yes. Yes. Brendan is here.
Perfect, thank you. Sue Orton. No. Cheryl Rose. Here. Thank you. Sheila Sudarwala.
Here.
Robin Wallen.
Here.
Thank you. And we also have in attendance myself, Dana Lancaster, and Timothy Weeks, our public administrator for St. Louis County.
Do we have a quorum?
We do not have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you. Please take a look at the April 14th meeting, review it. I need a motion to approve or changes that need to be made.
We don't have a quorum. I think without a quorum, we'll have to.
Yes. Move on. Today we have guest speaker of the Administrative Office, Mr. Timothy Weeks. I had ran into him at the County Council chambers and thought it would be a good idea for the commission to hear what the public administrative office does and some explanation of the different tiers of guardianship. So I asked the county commission if they would like that. Said they would. So Timothy, thank you for taking the time to come to our meeting. And I hand over to you.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you guys very much for having me, and thank you for the work that you do for everybody here in St. Louis County, especially those with disabilities. Just a little bit about me for those who haven't met me yet. I've served as St. Louis County's public administrator now since June of 2022. Prior to that, I was an assistant attorney general for the state of Missouri. Prior to that, I served as an attorney for the juvenile office in Franklin County and Jefferson County, Missouri. I've been an attorney now for 12 years, licensed attorney in the state of Missouri. I love what I do here. Most people don't know that our office even exists or what we do, or have never even heard of a public administrator. A lot of and that's very evident in a lot of the sunshine requests that my office regularly gets, where we get requests for building permits and police reports and things like that. But in reality, that's not at all what we do in this office. That I'm very proud of here. And so I put together a little presentation, kind of introduce you to what we do and who we are and why we're important. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. There we are. Can you all see that presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. All right. Well, Like I said, Timothy Weeks, my office here, public administrator, is on the 5th floor of the courthouse. So if anybody's ever over here, please feel free to stop by. We're right around the corner from the probate court and the sheriff's office. We've got, I've been able to add 3 more deputies since I took office from what I originally came in and inherited, which were very necessary and very much needed. And I've, worked really hard to build good relationships with the council members and with the administration here in St. Louis County to make sure that this office is heard and that we have what we need. It's not enough, but we're getting there. So, all right. So what is a public administrator? We're established by statute, revised statutes of Missouri. It was originally established in 1880 by the General Assembly. Most public administrators, and every county has one. Most public administrators are elected. So you'll see that election all throughout the state. But in St. Louis County, my office, I'm appointed by the court en banc, and we've got 4 others throughout the state who are also appointed by their court. So this is, like I said, set out in Missouri statute. Every county in the state shall have one. Serve as the term is ex officio public guardian and conservator. I'm bound to a blanket bond and an oath of office that I take with the probate court. And I only serve upon appointment by the probate court. So this is something that most folks are also unaware of. So we'll get calls regularly asking me in my office to serve as guardian of an individual, or somebody died and needs somebody to administer their estate. Well, unfortunately, I don't have the authority to just take it over. I have to be appointed by the probate court. So somebody has to file that petition and that paperwork with the probate court asking for my appointment. And there has to be a finding that there is nobody else able and willing to do so. And so this is something that comes up quite often, unfortunately. I wish I could, but unfortunately, as you'll learn, the work that we do here is incredibly substantial. I have 12, there's 12 of us total in our office right now. With the caseload that we have, I have to stick to this, unfortunately. We only serve one appointed. So what does a public administrator do? We serve as guardian of incapacitated and disabled adults. We serve as conservator of the estates of these incapacitated disabled adults. And I also serve as personal representative of decedent's estates. So when I'm appointed guardian, it's my duty to make decisions regarding that adult ward's support, care, education, health, and welfare. And I'm bound to exercise authority only as necessitated by their limitations. So I'm not making every single decision in this person's life, only as much as necessary. And it's my duty as well to encourage them to participate in the decisions and act on their own behalf and develop or regain the capacity to manage their own affairs through a process that we call restoration, where we restore their rights. My duty to exercise all powers and discharge all duties necessary or proper to implement my duties as guardian. So what does that look like practically? Well, when my office is appointed guardian after a hearing, after somebody files the petition in the probate court and there's a hearing held, it's my job then to make sure that an individual has placement. And I can tell you, anybody else who deals with this field knows this is one of the most difficult barriers that we face right now, is finding the least restrictive environment for individuals. And anybody who knows about this, what's been going on lately in the news, as far as the United States Department of Justice over the last year, knows that this is a topic of controversy in Missouri. So I'll get into that a little later, but just know that finding the least restrictive environment is not always as easy as it sounds. And I have wards all throughout the state of Missouri. Last we counted, I have wards in over 28 different counties, stretch as far as Kansas City and all the way down to the Boot Heel. So part of our duties is to find a place for them to go. And I can't put everybody, unfortunately, here in St. Louis County, so we've got to travel. We work regularly, routinely work with the agencies, state agencies, local agencies to ensure services. We seek eligible benefits on their behalf. And it's our duty to ensure that ongoing medical, behavioral, and social needs are met. And what that means is a lot of consents. So the phone rings regularly here with doctors, hospitals, nurses, um, anybody. Any medical procedure needs our consent as guardian. So it's a lot of calls. Keep us very busy. A lot of written consents as well. And we do make difficult healthcare, medical placement, and end of life decisions. So I have had a number of appointments in my tenure in which somebody is essentially on their deathbed, and the hospital needs somebody to make the decision whether to extubate, you know, enter a DNR, DNI, do not resuscitate, do not intubate order. Those types of decisions we don't take lightly, and but it does happen, and that's what we're here for when there is nobody else able to make that decision. Everybody in my office serves on call. All of my deputies, I carry my work phone with me everywhere, and my deputies take a rotation as well to help me answer these calls. When my office is appointed conservator, we're bound by statute to protect, preserve, and manage an individual's estate, their assets. Use the degree of care, skill, and prudence an ordinarily prudent person uses. Ascertain their income, assets, liabilities, needs, and preferences. And plan for the management of their income and their assets. Now, what does that look like practically? That means taking possession of all of their real and personal property. So we're talking houses, cars, jewelry, bank accounts, everything. So oftentimes when we are appointed conservator, it is a task. It is quite the task to get in touch with every bank. You know, if somebody has stocks and bonds, those are often complicated and not easy. You know, there are certain banks that you may want to put your money in them because not even your court-appointed guardian or conservator could access them very easily. It's not easy dealing with some of these financial institutions these days, unfortunately. So we do go in the homes. That is part of our duties. So if somebody is in the hospital or in a nursing facility and they own a home and they've left it behind with nobody else to manage it, we do go in there and we take account of any substantial valuable assets, anything that can be sold and used to pay for the individual's care. And then we will get a court order to sell the home and we will sell that. We've sold over 40 houses in my 3 years as public administrator. We routinely have, right now we have 2 that we're managing, as well as apartments and condos. And so that's a big chunk of our duties as well. We'll collect, you know, all the income, and we'll pay all the bills and coordinate the benefits. So as I mentioned earlier, our caseload is significant. We handle approximately 750 total cases. Now that is over 550 individuals, but under Missouri statute, letters of guardianship and letters of conservatorship are 2 different cases. So when you think about it, I have it split up here. We have about 550 wards and 160 protectees. Those are for conservatorships. And we also have about 40 decedents estates currently. And so these numbers are approximate. They do fluctuate each week with deaths and new appointments. I just got notice this morning that one of our wards passed away over the weekend. And we are constantly getting new appointments from the probate court, and we'll assist with ones in which they're not getting any response from the individual who currently serves as guardian or conservator and needs something done, needs some action taken on the case. So we'll get notice of those and we'll act on those as well. Our individuals, their primary impairments, most of them have some sort of developmental disability. So cerebral palsy, autism, Down syndrome, for instance. We have approximately 40% of our individuals have some sort of mental illness. bipolar, schizophrenia, dementia. Maybe about around 8%, what we calculated last, have dual diagnoses. So some combination. And about 1% of our appointments are kind of situational. So it could be anything. Could be somebody that just needs a little extra help upon a finding of the probate court that they need a guardian or conservator. And so I can tell you about this caseload as well. One of the trends statewide, and I think nationwide as well, is that the population that we serve is getting younger and younger. So historically, folks have kind of looked at the public administrator's office to serve as guardian for grandma and grandpa in the nursing home. But what we're seeing right now is we're getting a lot of appointments out of children's division, a lot of younger folks who are turning 18 or 21 and in need of a guardian. Unfortunately, they just, they're having difficulty getting all the necessary services in place, and they just need a little extra help. And so we make it a priority to try to work with those younger folks to work towards restoration as much as we can. But for most of the cases, when we get them early, we'll be their guardian. We'll serve them probably the duration of their life. But we do get quite a few people who are still older, and we'll manage their health care and make those decisions as necessary. One of the topics recently, especially regarding the Department of Justice report that came out last year, is client rights. And I want to make sure that everybody is aware that the individuals that we serve as guardian and conservator, they do have the right to due process. So these are court hearings that are held where an individual is adjudicated. So they receive personal service of the petition. It's typically filed by a nursing home or facility, the Missouri Department of Mental Health, Department of Social Services, Health and Senior Services, or hospitals. Hospitals will oftentimes file as well for a guardian when they have somebody in their care that needs decisions made. And that individual will get a court-appointed attorney. They'll have the right to a jury trial and the right to a hearing at which evidence can be presented. Now, we have not had a jury trial in the 3 years that I've served as public administrator, and I know they've had one over in the probate court probably in the last 5 to 10 years or so. It doesn't happen very often, but the possibility is there. And these guardianships can be limited, so rights can be reserved. And one of the things that the probate court has to make a finding of in these cases is whether or not the individual shall retain the right to vote, the right to marry, and the right to drive. And so those are set aside that have to be addressed in each judgment. And we do have continued supervision by the court in these cases. My office is required to file, and every guardian is required to file an annual status report with the probate court, updating the court on how the individual's doing, including this relevant information: the date of their last physician visit, the number of contacts by the guardian, their mental and physical condition, opinion of guardian for continuation or increase or decrease of the guardianship, and a summarized plan for the coming year. Now, unfortunately, because of the number of wards that my office serves and the fact that I only have 6 deputies right now, formerly 3, my office is usually only able to visit with each ward once per year. Now, the local wards, sure, we can see them, try to see them more than once, but some of the others on the other side of the state, it becomes more difficult. And oftentimes we'll have individuals elope, meaning run away from their current placement. And we'll have to find them, or sometimes we're unsuccessful and their location becomes unknown. That has happened as well. So even if we don't know where they are and we haven't been able to visit with them, we'll still include that in the status report with the court. And this is part of the responsibility of the guardian conservator working with the court to ensure that we are discharging our responsibilities and duties. And this is something that over the last 2 years, especially, this office has worked really hard to get caught up on. Because like I said, we didn't have sufficient staff. Nobody knew what this office did and why it was important, and that there was an increase in the caseload for this office over the last 5 to 10 years. It got to the point where it was too much for the staff that we had. And so I've made it a priority to get as much staff as the county would allow, given the current budget crisis. But I am real proud of the work that we've been able to do. I've got a wonderful staff here. The folks that I did inherit from the previous administration have been incredible. And I'm very blessed to have them here. And we'll keep plugging away. I expect these numbers will continue to increase, but I can assure you that we will do our best to serve St. Louis County. Like I said, restoration, we work towards that. That petition can be filed by the guardian conservator or any person on behalf of the ward or protectee. The court may require, and they do typically require, a report of a physician or other qualified professional stating that this person is no longer in need of a guardian. Challenges and obstacles, the biggest ones we have right now are the increase in appointments. There are a lot of guardians out there that fail to file the annual status report, and that is required by statute. So the court, unfortunately, has no other choice but to set the matter for a show cause hearing, typically, at which they send notice to the guardian and ask them to appear and explain why they have not filed the status report. If they don't respond, which is pretty typical, unfortunately, due to change of address, or they just get too busy, the court will send notice of their removal as guardian and appoint my office. And that's where the nickname Guardian of Last Resort comes from. So my office serves as the guardian of last resort when there are no other individuals able or willing to serve. And we have been dealing, unfortunately, with a number of complex issues, more time-consuming issues, and younger wards who take up a lot of our time. I can't tell you the number of times that I've had a situation come up and I've reached out to people in this office who've been around a while, or other public administrators who've been doing it a lot longer than I have, and nobody has run into this situation. It happens more often than it should. And my nature, my background, since I'm an attorney, rarely ever do I get to act as lawyer anymore. Mostly I get to serve as social worker, but I still have that background. And so, you know, I love to be in the courtroom. I love to advocate for my wards as much as possible. And I can tell you that a lot of these issues are getting more and more complex, and these are not simple cases by any means. The asset wrangling takes up a lot of time, selling property. It is amazing the stuff that you can find at an individual's home, especially those who deal with mental illness, as I'm sure some of you can imagine, or if you have older relatives who saved everything under the sun in their home, going through everything and figuring out what's valuable and what's not, figuring out, you know, throwing away photo albums, and because there's simply no place else for them to go, things like that. It breaks your heart. It's difficult. And as I mentioned earlier, finding the least restrictive alternative, finding an appropriate placement for an individual to reside is not easy these days. We have had, I'm sure many of you have heard, several nursing homes and facilities. Northview Village was the big one 2 years ago, I guess about a year and a half ago, December of 2023, shut down suddenly in the middle of the night. We've lost Zenith, we've lost Levering, where a lot of our folks, especially those who are behavioral and more difficult to place than others, resided. And so losing those placements and not having new placements pop up to take those individuals, it's been very difficult. Hospital boarding is another big issue. I'm sure some of you are aware, but a lot of these folks, they end up in the hospital and they stay there. Unfortunately, there's just no place safe. There's no safety plan, no place to send them. And so unfortunately, a lot of them end up there in the hospital, and it just takes time, fortunately. So we get those calls on a daily basis. You know, when are you going to get him out of here? When are you going to find placement? Well, we're working on it. I would love for somebody to not be there as long as necessary, but unfortunately, that's just the way it goes sometimes for some individuals. And like I said, we get a lot of individuals out of children's division care. So lack of preparation, they need job training, they need skills, they need money. They need a place where they're stable and somebody that cares for them. That's not easy these days. And lastly, I'll get into this, the Department of Justice investigation into guardianships and facilities. And I know I've taken up a lot of your time, so I'll try to get through this a little bit and try to save some time for questions. So this was in June 2024. Justice Department found the state of Missouri unnecessarily institutionalizes adults with mental health disabilities in skilled nursing facilities in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the state of Missouri improperly relies on guardianship. That investigation found that Missouri failed to provide community-based mental health services for people with mental health disabilities who need them. So a lot of these services listed here, you know, case management, mobile crisis response, peer support, supported decision making. These are things that state agencies, unfortunately responsible for these, have not been able to successfully implement them over the years. And so, especially for folks like me in my office, when we serve as guardian, it's very difficult to leave people in the community knowing that I'm responsible for them unless I have 24/7 eyes on them or somebody to check in on them and make sure that they're okay. But unfortunately, that's where we are. Uh, it's very difficult to keep people in the community successfully, especially for me, knowing that I'm liable if anything happens to them. So unfortunately, that least restrictive environment for a lot of these folks are skilled nursing facilities. This just came out last week. This is an article in the Missouri Independent, which is one of the only publications that really covers a lot of these mental health issues and some of the struggles of the state agencies right now. Um, we have a lot of folks in jails who are awaiting evaluation. And this is something that Missouri Department of Mental Health, in my conversations with them, they've made a priority, but it all comes down to the workforce, unfortunately. And they're having difficulty finding enough people who are able to help this situation. So finding people who are qualified to evaluate these folks and get them in the proper placement and the proper treatment that they need. Unfortunately, they're sitting in jails, they're sitting in hospitals waiting for that. Hospital boarding, like I talked about earlier, is a big issue. Hospitals are full, there's no beds. Nurses, I've been on the phone with nurses after an attack of one of my wards. It's horrible. It's very difficult to deal with, and knowing that if they're not in the hospital being taken care of, they're going to be homeless. And that's something that us as public administrators really struggle with, is that the Department of Justice comes in and tells us that we need to get people out of these facilities. But if they're not in these facilities, they're going to be homeless. They have nobody else to take care of them. If we place them in a community bed, first of all, which are not available, they're not going to remain there. There's no guarantee. And a lot of them, unfortunately, are not going to take their medication as prescribed. That's just the reality. It's truly a crisis. I testified earlier this year in front of the Missouri House of Representatives Health and Mental Health Committee, letting them know that these are real issues that need to be dealt with and paid attention to. Unfortunately, it's the way that we're headed right now. Unless sufficient resources and attention are paid to making sure that these individuals receive proper community services, the Department of Justice is going to come down hard on Missouri. And we're going to be stuck with a lot of people without proper placement. And so we're already there as far as I'm concerned. It's a daily struggle for a lot of these folks that I get appointed guardian over, and I'm having to scramble on a Friday afternoon to find them a place to live. So here's another article, talks about Here's some numbers: 650 adults with developmental disabilities in what the Department of Mental Health calls inappropriate placements, 39 residing in hospitals, and a handful of jails and homeless shelters. Most critical cases impact by widespread staffing shortages among local non-for-profit organizations. It's a major problem. And so that's something I've tried discussing with our representatives and state senators in Jefferson City. I've taken probably 5 trips up there in the last 2 years to sit down with as many as I can and make sure that they're aware and ask for help. Also, in regards to the last point that the Department of Justice made regarding Missouri's improper reliance on guardianship, unfortunately, it is something that people turn to a little too quickly. So guardianship needs to remain the last resort. So there are alternatives to guardianship that are out there, such as durable power of attorney, living will, supported decision making. These are all out there, and there are resources out there to help. And these are things that people need to think about and take a look at prior to becoming incapacitated or disabled. And so if folks can start thinking about these types of issues as early as possible, who do I want to serve as my guardian? Who do I want to make these decisions should something happen to me? Then perhaps we could be in a better situation, especially public administrators' offices, because we end up with the folks that nobody else will step up to take care of and make these decisions about. And so I'll go ahead and end there. I want to thank you guys for your time. I've got a lot more that I could talk about. I've got a presentation coming up in September to the Missouri Bar Association about guardianship, and some ideas for the future. And hopefully it's something that will improve. But unfortunately, the way that we're headed right now, those with disabilities and those who are mentally incapacitated, they need a lot of help. And so that's something that our office is here for. And we, like I said, with the limited staff that I have, we do the best we can on behalf of St. Louis County. So thank you, everybody.
Okay. I believe there be some questions.
Yeah.
So why at St. Louis County Public Administrator Office, why do you have a counterpart in other counties like in Kansas City, Springfield, Columbia? I'm trying to understand why you have wards all throughout the state.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I can tell you that when the petitions are filed for appointment of a guardian or conservator, you have to file it in the domicile of the individual. So somebody could be residing in Kansas City in a nursing home, but they could have only been there for 3 months or 6 months. That's not their domicile in Kansas City. They are a St. Louis County resident. They're from here, they own property here, they have pending cases here, but for whatever reason, they're somewhere else. They're in another county. So those petitions and guardianship conservatorship needs to be established in the county of domicile, meaning the place where the individual voluntarily set their abode. So where they meant to stay. And then once I get appointed for them, we have to find the least restrictive environment for them. And oftentimes that is not necessarily in St. Louis County. We try to keep them as close as possible, but there are a lot of other facilities throughout the state. For instance, Fulton State Hospital is the big example. That's in Callaway County. But if they have somebody who's from St. Louis County, that petition and that appointment will be for the St. Louis County Public Administrator, not the Callaway County Public Administrator. So I hope that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you. That clarified. My second question, when you talk to the state representatives, Are you getting any bipartisan support to look at this and budget money for this?
Yeah, I think generally state reps and state senators are supportive of this. However, practically, it's not an attractive topic. It's not something that is going to garner a lot of support because there are so many other controversial issues out there right now. And those of you aware of the situation in the House and Senate last year know that not a lot got done. They didn't pass a lot of things that they needed to because there was a lot of gridlock. And so we had a little bit of that again this year, but not nearly as much. Um, and I can tell you, strategically thinking about how the state can improve upon this, the biggest thing that my office and public administrators throughout the state advocated for is better accountability on behalf of the Department of Mental Health, specifically their budget. Because a lot of our individuals who live in these ISLs, which are independent supported living placements, their budgets are so inflated that there has to be a better way to spend our state dollars, especially knowing right now the future is bleak for the state budget, from what I've been told and what I've read about, is that we can count on probably a significant reduction in the amount of money that's spent on individuals with mental health, and those with disabilities. I think that's just the way it is. But I can tell you a lot of folks, there in Jefferson City will sit down and listen and act like they truly do care. And they probably do care and they wish they could do something about it too. But unfortunately, it's just with the realities of the way politics are right now, it's not going to improve anytime soon, I don't think, unfortunately. And I actually, with the Department of Justice report coming out, I was hoping that that would be the catalyst. And I'm still hopeful that the state of Missouri might change its system and actually pay attention to these issues and care for those appropriately with mental health and disabilities. But as of now, I know it's kind of a stalemate between the Attorney General's office and the Department of Justice, and I don't expect anything to happen, unfortunately, for at least another year.
So do they realize homelessness and maybe our street is going to be increased?
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing to bring to their attention, and that's a point that I've made with St. Louis County folks and the county council, is to let them know that our office, I need enough eyes in my office. I need enough help here, enough deputies to help me manage the day to day and make these decisions on behalf of our wards to make sure that they're not living on the streets and that they have an appropriate placement.
One final question I have for you. I'm still trying to understand what's the difference between full guardianship and whatever you call it. You mentioned some.
Sure. So there is limited guardianship.
So
And I
tell
think,
me what that is.
yeah, so limited guardianship, it's not something that the court uses very often. However, the court can kind of delineate our specific duties and say that my office is responsible for medical only, for instance, instead of placement. So the individual can still make those decisions of where they want to live. They can still manage their own money and their benefits, and they could still vote, they could still drive, they could still marry, but for whatever reason, the court would appoint my office as limited guardian to make medical decisions only, or for instance, placement decisions only, or something like that. So full guardianship is truly extraordinary because you are taking away all of their rights. You know, like I said, the statute tries to make sure that the guardian acts only as necessary, but in reality, that is making most important decision on an individual's behalf. But if you limit that, you still give them some independence and hopefully work towards restoration to get them those rights back if that's possible.
Thank you for the explanation. I see Chair Rose has a question.
Now, I just wonder, when you say that you have to sell property, or you have to find a place for somebody to live, is that your staff doing that, or do you hire real estate agents or case managers, or?
Sure. So I have 6 deputies right now. They're all assigned guardianships and conservatorships, and so they're responsible and kind of taking the lead to find placement and make sure those services are in place. I work with I do work with a real estate agent with whom I'm familiar and who I've worked with over the years. During my time at the Attorney General's office, she has done great work around here, but by no means am I tied down to a certain person or agency or anything like that. This is just someone that I trust who can move houses quickly, get them listed and get them moving and make sure that we get the best possible price for each estate. So yeah, no, this is me and whatever deputy is assigned going to the house and meeting an appraiser there. So everything is appraised independently, and we get court orders for everything. So I can't spend $1 of anybody's money or sell anything without a court order. And so we always have that to make sure that everything we're doing is appropriate and has been approved by the judge. We're bound by statute. Real estate is a whole nother thing where we're bound by statute to sell for at least 75% of the appraised value. And as you can imagine, a lot of these homes are not in good shape. So sometimes getting that 75% is a struggle, but we do manage to get there and find ways to unload a lot of these properties that would otherwise also sit vacant. We're able to sell them to investors and other folks, and use that money, use the proceeds of these sales towards an individual's care.
I was just wondering if this was stuff you all had to do all yourselves, or if you could use outside people to help you some with the workload.
Yeah, I know when I took office, I think the previous public administrator was doing it on his own, and would just go straight to the title company after coming to a deal with somebody. But no, I use an independent real estate agent, and that's a tremendous help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question? Anybody, web else have a question? See anybody?
It looks like Brandon has his hand raised. Brandon, did you have a question?
Brandon, are you there? Unmute yourself.
On his phone, isn't he?
Yeah, I see him talking, but I don't. No.
We're not hearing you, Brandon. Is there a way you can type it?
Well, one thing that I failed to mention while we're waiting is one of the things that I've tried to make sure is that we're delivering the highest quality of guardianship services in this office. And so one of the ways that we're doing that is that myself and my chief deputy, Mr. Michael Davidson, have both passed the national certification guardianship exam. And so I am a national certified guardian, as recognized by the Center for Guardianship Certification, as well as my chief deputy, Mr. Davidson. We are 2 of 13 nationally certified guardians in the state of Missouri. It's my hope to have all of my deputies take and pass this exam at some point. Because I do want this office to be something that St. Louis County is proud of. Because it's important. I recognize how important it is that what we do. And this office has gone under the radar for a long time, where a lot of folks don't know that we even exist. And I want to make sure that any news that gets out there about us is only positive. So we'll continue to work towards that and deliver services at as high a quality as possible. We appreciate your support with the council and any word of mouth. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
So Brandon, are you able to tell us your comment or question?
He said it, disregard. Did he? Is that him?
Right, we put in the chat. He
Oh,
said
disregard.
disregard.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else would like to ask Mr. Weeks a question or comment? Okay. I think it's more of a commentary, I guess. When you mentioned that you get younger people versus older people, and that the grandparents are not able to take care of their grandchildren. Is that because the biological parents were not stable to take care of the children, so the grandchildren took over the custody? Is that what's happened?
In some cases, yeah, that can be the case. We are getting a lot of individuals out of children's division custody. So I've been working with the juvenile court to make sure that my office is involved as early in the process as possible, to ensure a seamless transition from children's division care to that of my office. So for whatever reason, those individuals came into children's division custody. Typically that is due to the actions of the parents. They were either, where their rights were terminated by the court, or they could no longer care for the children. And in my experience, having worked in juvenile for 5 years, it is the case where grandparents will step up and oftentimes serve as guardian, or provide care or input for these individuals. We're getting them when they have nobody. And I can tell you a lot of these cases where there are family members involved, we will encourage them ad nauseum to become guardian, because when my office is appointed, I'm responsible for making those decisions. So while I appreciate family members wanting to give me their input, I'm ultimately responsible for the individual. So I'm going to make that decision whether you like it or not. So if you want to become guardian, please do so.
And I hope when you talk to the state rep and state senator, they're aware of this young population, because if you're not supporting the young people, they're gonna end up in your office. It's like a
Revolving door.
revolving door. Thank you.
Yeah,
Just-
it is, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you for your time. Is there anybody else that had anything to add?
I wanted to make a comment. I know that Barbara and Gabby Garbaro aren't here today, but they were some of the people who were interested in this topic. And I think what they had brought up before was just wondering how people's guardianship would end if they feel that they're able to, take back control of their lives. I think you had mentioned that anyone else, not the person themselves because they've been declared incapacitated, but anyone else could petition to end the guardianship. How would that look? And does that happen frequently?
It does not happen frequently. It's a great question. I think last year we had 5 restorations and 3 or 4 of them failed, meaning we had to petition a short time later to put them back under guardianship. So my office is more than happy to work with individuals if we believe that they can be restored. And so we've been in the process of developing a written structured plan that we can hand them and work with the facility or wherever they are to follow these specific steps to make sure that they can be successful independently and be restored. The court wants to see in these types of cases that the individual has a plan. So oftentimes that is the individual themselves writing to the court saying, I want to be restored. Here's my plan. I want to live here. I want to work here. This is my income. I'm going to be an independent adult and I no longer need a guardian. And unfortunately, that's just not what we're seeing. A lot of these folks that we end up with, they either don't understand or they're just not willing to take those steps. We get a lot of folks that are very angry that they have a guardian. And so I have to inform them regularly that unfortunately it's not up to me, it's up to the probate court. So if the court appoints my office, I have to serve the duty of being your guardian. But you are more than welcome to tell the court at any time that you no longer need one and to prove that case. And the court will appoint them an attorney if that is the case. A lot of folks will write letters, but some of these letters, you know, as you can imagine, don't necessarily make the most sense and they don't have a structured plan like the court would require. So I wish we could have more restorations. I want to work with some of these younger individuals, especially to make sure that I'm not their guardian the rest of their lives. I have a young female right now that I'm working with in particular, who I tell her every time I talk to her, I do not want to be your guardian anymore. I want you to be successful. So please, you know, follow the plan and get it together. So restoration is always the goal, and that's one of the first things that I try to instill in our new deputies.
And these folks are typically also working with case management?
Yes, so they will have a case manager with either through Department of Mental Health or some other agency, Center for Human Services, a lot of these places out there, Places for People, you name it, and we'll work with them and make sure that we do have services in place and that they do have therapy or counseling or job training, anything like that at their disposal.
That's excellent. Thank you for answering my question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, thank you for your time. I don't see anyone who have their hand up. So you're welcome to stay at our meeting. I'm sure you got plenty to do in your office. So thank you again for your time. And it's good to know about your office. And if we have future questions, we'll just contact you by email.
Yes, absolutely. Don't hesitate to reach out if I can ever help anybody. Thank you guys for your time and thank you for everything that you do. Take care.
Thank
you.
you. Yes, sure.
Josh is calling me, and so he's on the phone. I don't know if that gives us a forum or not.
Does Josh have a question?
No, I'm just saying that
Got it.
he's here. Mark him present.
Yeah, okay. Thanks again, Mr. Weeds.
And that does not bring us to a quorum, but can I mark what time he joined? Do you know what time he might have their meeting?
48 minutes and 33 seconds ago.
Okay. I'll take care of that. Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Wait, did you have something to say, Josh? No, you're marked present.
We got you. We got you, Josh. Thank you for joining in. Moving on, we have my report. I spoke last month that Sheriff and I and the older adult commission chair, Dan Rosenthal and Carol Rodriguez, met with Shalonda. What is it? Isn't she the chair? The chair of the council. So we gave her some insight on the history of the proposed UD ordinance. And I think she has a better understanding of what we're trying to do. I wasn't sure how she felt about it, but maybe Cheryl had some input. Okay.
So, you know, it was hard to tell. Let's get it like that. I think she tried to sound supportive and positive, but I'm not really sure that that's the case. I couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell either. So I don't know where we stand. I have not been in touch with that from Lisa Plance's office, so I will follow up on that. So that's my report. I don't have anything else to report. We can move on to the ADA coordinator report.
Okay, thank you. I had noted that at the April meeting, there were a couple of concerns that were expressed about the facilities that the county revenue office is using with their customer service that they're providing for the senior tax freeze. I think there was a mention about the West County location and then also the South County location. So I just wanted to report back that I did send that feedback to the revenue office. And they let me know that they had worked with facilities to make sure that there was enough space at that West County office. So they felt that that was as it should be. So if there is more concern that you want me to look into, just let me know more of the specifics of it. And then the South County location, the owner of that facility is terminating the county's lease and also doing some renovations. So it's probably not expected that there's going to be changes to that office hours.
Okay. Now we say with construction, that's the South County government office will be relocated somewhere. Do you know where?
I don't. I know those leases are like a 30-year term. They've already renewed it for at that location. So sounds like they're not renewing it.
I hope it's near me. I don't want to go to Clayton.
And then I guess I wanted to just confirm one more thing. As you know, I do a lot of work with county employees and applicants for job accommodations to help them be successful in their employment. And one resource that I was able to use recently that I was really excited about is the Missouri Assistive Technology Services, where they can lend you assistive equipment. So this is really awesome for someone who is not sure what might help them and they want to try out one or more things and just see before we actually buy it. Is this going to help me? Will I like it? Am I comfortable using it? Is it the right tools for me? And so they can lend things for 5 weeks at no cost. And they have really a lot of different things that they will lend people. I saw things like refreshable braille displays, magnifiers, braille label makers, flashing lights to notify someone who might have a hearing loss that their phone is ringing or that the doorbell was activated, bed shaker alarms, different types of keyboards, just even computer software, Chromebooks, really all sorts of things. So I think that is something that is not just for, employment, but also people to try things and borrow things in their personal life. So I thought I would just bring it up as it was a really great service to be able to use with one of our employees, and something I'll definitely try again, and I would recommend to anybody if there's something that you think might help you.
That's great. They are a good resource. Anything else?
I don't think there's anything else.
Okay. Thank you. We're moving on to old business. Do it. We have a report on older adult commission update.
So it's not on the.
We're nothing from Zoom or
She didn't send me anything. I don't see her on the meeting.
okay. We'll move on to accessible transportation. Any updates? Robin, Steve, Harris, any updates?
This is Robin. I have a couple of things that are kind of updates. First of all, recently I went to the Moving Missouri Forward Transportation Summit in Columbia, Missouri. And that was actually a really good summit to go to. It was basically for advocacy, but it gave a chance to meet with engineers and also talk to various people. There were some really good presentations on accessible transportation. One of the things I think was the highlight on Friday, we had a small table discussion. And one of the things that came out across the state was the need for on-demand paratransit services. So that is something that we all probably really need to fight for, because with the decrease in accessible taxi services, it's getting harder and harder to get that spontaneous transportation. So that was one of the big takeaways from that. We had several presenters, a woman who wrote a book, which is basically titled When Driving is Not an Option, which I meant to share with all of you. And I will send the book titles that they gave us, just because I think it's worth reading and understanding. A couple of updates on Metro. Metro's advisory committee is working now, and they've had their first really official meeting. And I believe they meet again in June. Metro is starting a pilot program this month with 2 wayfinding devices. One is Navilens, that's Navilens. And what these are is they're barcodes. And what you do is you take your mobile phone and you can scan around and it will pick up the barcodes and it will read them to someone who's visually impaired. But they also come in various languages. They're in 37 different languages, so they can also be used by people who maybe English isn't their first language. And Metro is going to put them as a pilot program in the Civic Center station, and then also along 24 bus stops in the on Lindell Boulevard, I believe. And so that's supposed to be later this month, around the 19th of May. One of the exciting things about Navilens, when I was talking with the gentleman from the company, is that they're also working on it to make it work for people who need ASL services, so that eventually you'll be able to scan a barcode and you can actually connect with someone and they can be an interpreter for you. That's on the horizon, but it's not here yet. But that's kind of separate from the Metro test that they're going pilot that they're going to be doing in May. And also the Metro fare payment system app is changing. And so that's not quite working yet. So I don't have all the updates on that, but that's what I have. Steve, do you have anything else?
Steve?
It looks like he logged off at 2:02.
Okay, okay. Well, those are the main things that I have right now. And hopefully we can do some more things and really push for this on-demand paratransit service because that's really, really in need right now. Metro is getting better with the new software, but there are still some kinks in it. And sometimes people are having rides that are way too long, and they openly admit that they're still working to resolve those problems. So that's what I've got.
Did you see the article in the newspaper about the problem with the gates?
Yes, I did. There's a couple of things with the gates, and something else that was brought up to them was for seniors, because there are so many bars there and it kind of blends in for people with some vision problems. That was a concern. I've been talking to Metro about that. There have been instances where there is no one letting people in the gates because you can't do it automatically right now, where security wasn't available. So those are some other things that are being discussed with them.
Okay.
So for anyone who missed it, were those the issues that were in the article?
It was, yeah, about not the guards have to let you in and they're not always there. Just a lot of dissatisfaction with gates, and why did they put the gates up before they had all the, I don't know,
Detail.
all of the software or whatever it is to open them automatically, or scanners, or I didn't quite get it all.
And we brought that up. We brought that up with that lady from Metro, Katie. So it's before I actually did it. So, Robert, I appreciate if your input this issue. I hope we can follow up about the gate issue too.
She was starting to say something.
That's okay. I was gonna say I will definitely be following up with them. I've been talking to them a lot about that because that is a problem. And now there are situations where people have actually been late to work because they couldn't get through the gate. And we've heard a lot of comments about that. There's been a lot of comments about the gates before they were even put up, but they went ahead and put them up even though people weren't really satisfied with them.
Well, I hope it gets resolved quickly because people shouldn't be late for work just because the gate is not working. So thank you for your advocacy, Robin. I appreciate that. Anyone have a question for Robin?
No, just keep on them. Keep
Yeah.
working.
Yes, keep that energy up.
Absolutely. I just figured out the other day that I've been pretty much trying to convince Metro about a lot of things for the past 25 years, and I don't give up that easy, but we're going to keep working with them. I think if we have any good things now, it's the fact that you can schedule your caller rides now on the app, on the Metro Go app, which is a good thing. That's huge for a lot of people. And I think it's going to be a game changer in that after you take a trip, you can actually rate your trip. But one of the things we're asking for now is that you can only do it immediately after you take the trip. You can't do it later on. And we want the app changed so that you'll be able to go back and rate your trip. And this is going to give Metro a lot more feedback because it's hard to get people to make complaints to customer service, but people are more likely to do it if it's right there in the app where they can do it on their own. So hoping that that's going to help a lot. So that's one of the positives. The Navulins wayfinding thing is something that I know I've been fighting for several years, and hopefully that will go well. And hopefully we can get this gate issue resolved, because the gates seem to be a problem for a lot of people.
Yes, yes. Thanks again. We'll move on to a public comment.
Wait, I have a new business.
I was told that you could wait up. That new business.
So on the agenda, we have the increasing accessible parking spaces as our new business item.
I didn't see that. Okay, increasing accessible parking spaces.
That wasn't what I was gonna. That wasn't what I was gonna.
Is it something you want us to add for the next meeting?
Well, it's just every year the Community Development Office is supposed to give us an annual report. I don't remember if you request that. I don't remember the process that we go through to ask for that.
I think the last one that they sent me that I shared out was in, I want to say it was February or March.
Of this year,
Correct.
was it shared by the month?
This year?
But they sent that before this year. Did you send it to the member?
That's what I'm saying. I think that
I'll
last one that I
double check.
sent, so I'll look back and see when that was, but was there a certain time of year that you guys normally expect to have it?
It's usually around, that time, but see, I think that might have been from 2 years ago. We'll have to look. We'll work on it.
Yeah, I'll definitely look at that. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, and someone want to talk about increasing accessible parking space? We talked about, we have to release our planning, not just having a minimum accessible spaces, because they had, it was Steve that brought it up. The, for lack of a better word, local audience that allows you to increase your accessible spaces in that and beyond what ADA requires. So,
Well, my only comment is at the new Clark Family Library. There are 8 handicap parking places and 8 EV plug-in places, and that just does not seem quite right to me. But here we go.
so you're saying it should be more disabled parking?
I think so.
This is Sheila, and I did check with our local law enforcement, like I said I would, about how many parking violations are issued in a calendar year for individuals that misuse accessible parking. And the total was 3 last year. 3 parking tickets.
And where was it? What municipality was that, Sheila?
It's in Maplewood.
Yeah, I don't think they do hardly any enforcement of that. Anywhere.
As a commission, do we want to do research? Do we want for me to, I need some research for me to go further on this, which to present it to the council.
Well, why doesn't everybody do what Sheila did? Everybody contact their municipality and ask that question. That could at least get us started.
How many are in violation?
How many violations they issue?
But beyond that, do we want to talk about how many have audience again. That won't apply to municipalities. Do you want the county voters and audience to increase for accessible parking spaces?
Yes. Yes, Josh? Yeah. I'm sure they don't. So what you're asking, Linda, is research on whether we want to pose an ordinance. Doesn't Steve do some research?
I then give, but Steve stepped away. So for the time being, Commission members, please think about that and we'll bring it up in the June meeting. And the minutes will go out to make sure that Steve will be presented in the June meeting, which when it is the next
It's June 9th.
June 9th, then I be here. I am going out of town June 11th. So June 9th, so hopefully Steve can present his research and we can, if you can send that research to me, I can forward it to Lisa Francis' office to see if this is something they want to pursue. And as far as violations, if Maplewood had tweeted here where I live, I mean, incorporated county, so see, and they're gonna tear out South County. So that's not gonna exist anymore. So where is it that I saw a bunch of spaces? I saw a bunch of spaces somewhere in our supplies. Something like 8 spaces. Yeah.
So in February, Steve sent me and then I sent out to the commission, the accessible parking guide from the United Spinal Association. And then information on ordinance that was passed in Fairfax County, Virginia. And then an ordinance that was passed in Louisville.
That was February.
That was, right, February 10th.
Okay, so we need to all go back, refresh ourselves.
Yes, and hopefully Steve will be present in June.
I remember getting something, but I don't think I studied.
Okay. Let's just put that back on the agenda for June with attention to Steve Harris since he did some research on it. Okay. Now public comments. Any public comments?
We didn't have anyone registered.
Hello.
Yes, Brandon. Yes, Brandon, you have your hands up.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Finally.
Earlier, when Tim was on the line, I was curious to know.
Keep going so you won't lose your voice. You disappear. We see you. So you said you probably had a 10 please. If you have a comment or question, maybe you can type that in the chat room and Diane and and send it to him.
Okay.
Dana can ask Mr. Reeves for his feedback. Did you have a question for him? Just nod your head. No. Oh, okay, so just type your questions or comment to Dana, and she will forward that to Mr. Reeves. And if you want to communicate with him, he said to contact his office. Is that okay?
I think he's typing. I think you guys said yes.
Thank you. Thank you. We need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I motion to conclude the meeting.
Seconded, Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, everybody else for attending the meeting. I see you on June 9th. Have a good one.
Sheila, anything? Oh. All right, well,
Is there anything we can do to make it easier for you for next time?
but then were you trying to get in on your computer? Oh, you're trying to get in on your phone, okay. Oh, okay. Well, maybe my suggestion, I don't know, Dana, how you feel about this, is to have him call in early, because you're usually here a few minutes early, and see if you all can communicate to get on. Yeah, but I mean, you have Dana's number? Dana, what,
My number is 314-615-1796. But I guess I'm not understanding, so you call the toll-free number, then it asks you to enter in the access code, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you're right. It says toll. Right, you call the 408 number, and then it asks for the access code. And then what?
the code, they're saying two codes.
You put in the access to the room and then you have to put into the room.
You have to put the did you hear what he said? Yes. Yeah,
Yeah, you have to put the access to the room, which is the code, and you have to put the password into the room. Should be another digits If you have the public notice, it's all. And if you need to speak, we can always promote you. So if you get in there and you can't unmute, don't worry about it. It's not big.
All right, well.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish you could make those codes shorter, but I don't think we have any control over it. It's just the way that WebEx works.
That's why I have control over the computer. Like, I can
Right.
ask for simple.
Right. The phone's always gonna be.
Take it to generate.
I hope your pressure sore gets better soon, John.
Okay, and I want to make sure I'm understanding Brandon's question that he typed, but for some reason I can't see it on my screen. I can only see it up there. So it looked like it said, wondered if Tim and staff were in addition to being lawyers, how much disability education do they have?
That was all.
Is that right? Okay. All right, so we'll find out a little bit more about their background. Okay. I will definitely get that information, and then I'll also send you Tim's email address, Brandon. Also, if you want to, be in connection with him, I can always copy you on my email to him, if that would work.
I think that would be a good idea.
I'll go ahead and do that. Thank you for that question.
And I think what,
Okay, bye, John.
thank you, John. Brandon, I think what you're looking for is you hope they have some insight on disabilities. And I hope so too, but I think it's just a minimum. They do have to, he mentioned Mr. Mason on his, I keep calling it weeds, they're certified in being deputy guardians. And they have to go through that process. But to have knowledge about, it'd be interesting to see what is required to that, but I doubt they have. For someone who used to work in the disability field, I doubt attorneys have that insight like we want. I think what we hope for is two things. Maybe they can hire a person with a disability who has a law degree, and maybe once a year they can do a continued ad thing on disability. But they have a lot to deal with. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to say what, how it went on.
It's a good question.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Brandon. And I'm glad you made the meeting because I haven't seen you for a while, so thank you for coming. All right, have a good day.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.